So I've spent the last 30 days in the iPhone ecosystem. I went from an old Google Pixel on over to an iPhone, which this is just an iPhone 12, nothing like the Pro Max because I'm not a millionaire and I don't feel like spending that much money on an iPhone. So this is about one revision old. And I just kind of wanted to experience the Apple ecosystem and figure out why people use it and why maybe you should or shouldn't use it. Because I'm going to go over my experiences because I'm going to tell you right now, it was not very seamless. And also, there's things about the Apple ecosystem I absolutely hate. But there's certain things that I think I might actually continue using this, but not for the reasons you're thinking. So let's first start out with why I am an Apple ecosystem user. As most people know, I absolutely hate Apple. My best friend sent me a text message like, "Hey, you switched to Apple," and he knew immediately when I texted him, which I'm going to get into in a minute with the iMessage, which I hate iMessage, which again I'll get into. But he sent me this like, "Man, hell has frozen over. You're using Apple." And the reason I did it was mainly because of this. I could get in there and do a lot of fitness challenges with my family because almost all my family is on the iPhone. Here in America, iPhone has almost close to 60% market share, which is pretty impressive, especially when you get into there and you can kind of go and do individual challenges with like my brother or sister. And that was amazing. I loved that. It got me more active and I really enjoyed it. The second thing I really liked about the iPhone and the ecosystem was I got this little Apple Watch. Now I have it just rigged up for activity because all I care about in the Apple ecosystem is health and their fitness tie-in with a lot of the other people in my life. And that has been fantastic. The wearable for the Apple Watch, by far the best wearable I've ever had. And I've done like TicWatch, I've done Samsung Fit Watch, I've done all these Android wearables, which I all thought were lacking. And this is the first wearable I'm actually like, oh, every day I can pop up, I put my wearable on. I was like, okay, cool. So for the fitness aspect, coupled with the watch and that, fantastic experience. Next up is I really don't like the interface of the Apple ecosystem. The iPhone, I think it's pretty dated at this point, much like I thought the desktop experience for Mac is pretty dated. It feels old to me. And what this has done to my screen time is pretty impressive. Like, I was on my phone a couple hours a day when I was using an Android device, and it's really chopped it down to about 30 minutes a day. Sometimes I go up to about an hour because I'll have the fitness app, my playbook open, and that is basically how I do a lot of my weightlifting is through an app called Playbook, which is really good. And that's also tying back into my health. So the screen time, because I don't like being in and being on my iPhone, I really have cut down my screen time probably by about a third, I'd say. And that has been very good for my mental health and also everything. So one of the benefits is I don't like Apple. I don't like the Apple ecosystem, but it's actually been a boon because I'm not on my phone practically ever now. And I guess the other benefits of Apple, which these are really, really far, but to some this might matter. Face ID, I mean, I kind of like the fingerprint, to be honest with you, from the Pixel. I don't really like that Face ID that much, but I know some people do. And then the other thing is privacy. Some people think Apple ecosystem is a bit more private, which I could see compared to, obviously, Google Pixel. But to me, it's just maybe a little bit better. So that brings us to this guy, the Pixel. What do I miss about my Pixel? Like, in the Android ecosystem, the autocorrect light years better than Apple and iPhone. I've been on this for 30 days. It's probably a little bit better than when I started, but it's still like way behind what the typing. When I type on this, it's so much faster. The autocorrect is so much better. This always autocorrects the wrong word for some odd reason. It's like Siri's taking stupid pills or something. Which brings me to the auto, the voice assistants. Like, you get into Siri, and I absolutely hate with a burning passion Suri. She would interrupt me all the time, and I was just like digging through my settings trying to limit her as much as possible through both my watch and my phone, because Siri always seemed to give me the wrong result, or it was intrusive, where Google Assistant kind of just stayed out of my way. I rarely used it, but when I did use it, it worked really well, and the dictation for Google Assistant was basically all I used it for. But man, a big win for Android on this one. The other thing, to me, I was like, but the freedom with hardware was really nice. I hate the fact that you're pricing with this guy. Like when you take both these and put them side by side, they do almost the same thing. There's not like any big hardware difference, except this is $300 and this is, I think it was about $1,000, which is kind of insane. Like, why does this cost 3 times more than this device and it does pretty much the same thing? The cameras I thought were pretty close to the same as well, so I didn't see the Apple difference in the camera side. I'm not looking really close, but they both pretty much do the same thing for me. So the pricing, if price is a factor, Android all the way. The other thing that I absolutely hated, which many people love about Apple, is if you do Apple everywhere, this is actually a good thing, but I don't. I'm a Linux user. I used Linux mainly for my desktop daily driver. I did a huge series on all of that. Now, I'm definitely going to revisit that soon, just to let everybody know, give you kind of a 3 or 4 year update. But this iMessage is illegal. I literally think they should be sued out of oblivion for anti-competitiveness. The fact that people know that I'm on iMessage before they, like, as soon as I switched, people were like, oh, you're an Apple user now. I'm like, I didn't tell anybody. Oh my gosh. Why is that? Is iMessage goes in there, you enable it, and then it takes over your messages. And then it does sync it to your let's say you're on a Mac OS, it syncs it there, which is great. It shows up, it's cool, and it says, hey, it's now using iMessage. But I don't like that because I use Google Fi, and I already had universal messages, and now I don't because of the iPhone. I used to get all my messages here. This was kind of nice, but I can't really get it anymore unless I turn off iMessage, which brings me to my next point. The new version that every other phone is using for messages does not exist on it's iMessage or go home. You either get standard old SMS, which you can see there's a couple people that send it, mainly spammers on traditional SMS, but multi-MMS messages are pretty much lost to the ether if you turn off iMessage on the iPhone. So they force you to use iMessage no matter what. And I think that is criminal. So iMessage, awful, terrible. I think Apple should be... I think this is one of the few times, I hate government interaction, but this is one of the few times I think the government needs to step in and say, hey, Apple, you can't do this. And I think EU and a lot of other people across the world will do it well before the United States will, but it's one of those things where it's super anti-competitive and I just can't get on board. So the question remains, will I go back to Android? Just looking at this lock screen, I miss it. So probably. But for the time being, the iPhone, I'm going to stick on because while I don't like it, it's good for my health. And honestly, I think when we look at these boxes, whether it's Android or Apple, I always refer to them as devil boxes because we lose so much productivity and they're not very healthy for us. And the fact when I'm on iPhone, I'm a bit healthier and I don't pick it up and I just don't like that experience as much is probably a good thing for me. So with that, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. And as always, thank you to everyone that helps support me over here, whether it's the join button down in the membership or over on christitus.com. Thank you guys. I couldn't do it without you, and I'll see you in the next one.